Hi you guys, how you doing today? Today we're going to be talking about shadow self. What is shadow self and why it's important to embrace your shadow self? What is a shadow self, we say, right? Shadow self is an archetype that forms part of the unconscious mind and is composed of repressed ideas, instincts, impulses, weaknesses, desires, perversions, and embarrassing fears. This archetype is often described as the darkest side of the psyche, representing wildness, chaos, and the unknown. How to embrace your inner darkness. You may come across many parts of self that you will find difficult, if not completely disturbing to accept. So we always place that to our shadow side. Like say if you've done something like, wow, you don't even know why you did something bad, but that's the shadow side of you coming to, because it's in your unconscious state of mind right now. But we'll bring that to the forefront once we understand what shadow self is and why it's good to identify with it. So identify and accept your shadow self. Okay. One must have chaos in oneself in order to give birth to a dancing star. That was Frederick Nietzsche. We all carry an image of ourselves in our minds, who we are or what we are like, and what qualities we have. We form this sense of self through repeated experience in the world with others and through self reflection. We are inextricably linked to the world around us, interconnected, as we could say, right? People throughout our lives have given us direct and indirect information about who we are through what they see us and how they respond to us. But we know who we are, right? We then internalize these reflections from others and take what fits with how we would like to see ourselves and reject what doesn't fit, right? Through this process of filtering information, we hopefully form a coherent sense of identity in the world. However, there is more to self than just what we would like to see and what we tell ourselves we are, right? And that was called Jung. He's a Swiss psychologist and called the shadow, right? So as we get more into this, okay, go over there and show them. Okay, this is a picture this is how our shadow selves can be reflected. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's everything that's like out of a dang on swamp movie. All the nasty things, right? And we want to get our bodies clean. We want to clean our minds, our thoughts. So shadow self is an archetype that forms part of the unconscious mind, and it's composed of repressed ideas, instinct, impulses, weaknesses, desires, perversions, and embarrassing fears. This archetype is often described as the darkest side of the psyche, represent wild chaos and the unknown, right? So this picture is like of the unknown, and this is what our mind, the unconscious, because we have a consciousness, but we're unconscious to a lot of things. Even though you wake up every day, yes, your eyes are open, yes, you're watching TV, you're walking around, you're doing everything unconsciously, So these ugly and frightening parts of ourselves are elements of the shadow self. Are fragmented, are structured into different selves. These cells attempt to organize how we experience different emotions, situations, and challenges in life. The different reflections of self. And we hide it in our shadow self. All the bad things, all the things that we ever did in our life that we wasn't happy for doing, but we did. We just put it to a shadow self, because everybody want to be the better version of themselves. Nobody wants to be the bad version. And we hold the key. We hold the key to that salvation of being the better us. But first we have to dig deep inside and pull out those unwanted things, right? So these ugly and frightening parts of ourselves are elements of the shadow self that we don't want, but we hold the key. Okay, so these cells attempted to organize how we experience different emotions. Jung, the psychologist who wrote a book called Shadow Work Journal, he describes how we have two major archetypes of shadow self: the persona and the shadow self itself. The persona defines who we would like to be and how we wish to be seen in the world, right? And the persona derived from a Latin word that literally means mask. However, in this instance, the word can be applied metaphorically, represent all the different social masks that we wear among different groups of people and situations. Like that song that Future got out, Mask On, Fuck It, Mask Off. He's like, I'm gonna put my mask on when I'm around certain people. Then he like, man, fuck, I'm finna be who I am, why hide who I am. That's self-reflection. And that's what everybody needs to do. We need to take that mask off, you guys, and become the person that we really are. Because when we repress who we are just for somebody else's self-gain, it's not good. It can only be detrimental and chaotic, right? So we want to come out of that shadow self. The shadow self is an archetype that forms part of the unconscious mind and is composed of repressed ideas. This archetype is often described as the darkest side of the psyche, representing wildness, chaos, and the unknown. We are all born pure like blank canvases. Some point driving childhood development, we learn knowledge that teaches us to separate things into good and evil. The moment we eat from the tree of knowledge, our shadows are born, and we begin to divide ourselves into multiple parts. Hence, we begin to sort out those traits within us that are acceptable to society, the persona, and those are and those that are unacceptable, which is later hidden away. These are the shadow selves. People would do anything no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And that's crazy, right? Our own self, you guys. Just think about that. Every day we wake up and we mad at the way we live, or if you're mad at your life or something, and you quick to blame the other person. Oh, it's that person's fault why my life isn't going the way I wanted to. Oh, no, it's that person's fault. When we really need to look at self from the day we were born and we came out of our mama's womb, and we thought how we wanted our lives to be, or, the life that we wanted to live. But when it didn't go the way we wanted, that's our fault. Like say if you yelled at somebody, you shouldn't have. And now that person doesn't talk to you no more. You can't be mad at that person for not talking to you. Be mad at yourself for not, being a good conductive person in society. The persona is the lovable face we present to the world, while the shadow is the face we hide from the world. Thus, the dark shadow traits that we all possess accumulate in the corners of our unconscious minds, never becoming adequately integrated into our conscious minds because we never see our split state into the first place. Due to our psychological defense mechanisms, and so we continue on accumulating these dark series, motivations, and fears because we don't want to face the dark side of ourselves in every situation of life. It's always shadow. Shadow go everywhere with you. Shadow sees everything. Shadow is you. The lack of awareness of the shadow self and the disconnection from our true whole self can be dangerous. We can be so caught up in the world, and our shadow self will take over, causing depression or unconscious accident that ended up manifesting their inner demons. The denial of shadow can lead to physical, emotional, psychological, and interpersonal consequences that last for a very long time. It's understandable that the process of becoming civilized requires us to repress aspects of ourselves that do not fit in with the structure and idea of our society. And it says, I embrace my shadow self. Shadows give depth and dimensions to life. I believe in embracing my duality and learning to let darkness and light peacefully coexist as illumination. Like y'all be hearing Illuminati. Ooh, the Illuminati, they do this. The only thing the Illuminati does is hold valuable information. And yes, they might do worship Satan, and I'm pretty sure they do, but it's like they are light bearers. They hold, and the light is knowledge, So in order for us to get knowledge, we have to do all this diligent research, but they got the scrolls and stuff. They have the top knowledge. And yes, they do all kinds of wicked things, but illumination, it means to get light, to be smart, knowledge. That's why when they come out, they be like, ha ha, y'all think we're Illuminati, and ha ha, y'all think we deal with, ha ha. They laugh because they got all the knowledge and they know consciousness and we don't. So they like, ha ha, stupids. That's really what they want to say, ha ha, stupids. But it's all good because we finna get this knowledge. Then they gonna be looking, ha ha, stupids. We got it now. But anyway, so we're going to start with the youth. We have to wake the youth minds up and let them, like say if you're in the kitchen and your kid, well, we'll get into that later, okay? Let's just get to this. So the lack of awareness of shadow self and the disconnection from a true whole self can be dangerous. We can be so caught up in the world, and our shadow will take over, causing depression or unconscious accident that end up manifesting their inner demons. You see this, you guys? The denial of shadow can lead to physical, emotional, and psychological interpersonal consequences that last for a very long time. Okay, it's understandable that the process of becoming civilized requires us to repress aspects of ourselves that do not fit in with structured ideas of society. And nobody's perfect, and it's okay. It's okay, you guys. We don't have to act like we put keeping up with the Kardashians, keeping up with the Joneses. If you can't keep up with them people, be you. It don't matter. Okay, I don't care. Shoot, I done made it. I done came from the bottom up, down. You know, I'm up, down, but I remember being down. And then when I was down and people had more than me, I didn't care. I didn't think that person was no more better than me than I knew my brain to have. Because the mind is a terrible thing in ways. As long as you got mind, you can do anything and accomplish anything and become anything. It's understandable that the process of becoming civilized requires us to repress aspects of ourselves that do not fit in with the structured idea of our society. Basically, the repression of our negative traits or emotions in society is one of the biggest barriers in any person's journey towards self-love and living authentically, real, genuine, right? Explore all sides of self. Don't be scared of you and your many potentials. We got potentials, y'all. You know, the mind is very creative. That's why I say sky's the limit. Sky is the limit, and I know that you can have what you want, be what you want. We just got to put our foot forth, and if you build it, they will come. You know, we only human. Explore all sides to self. Don't be scared of you and your many potential. Sky's the limit. Live without barriers so that your soul can be liberated. We need to be liberated. To be in a cage and be shelled up, your mind won't be able to expand, and you won't see the broader side of things. You won't be optimistic. It's more likely that you'll live a pessimistic life, what will cause depression and suicidal thoughts. You know, and we don't know what's wrong with the youth is because, you know, people do things and they can't get over doing something bad, so they like, oh, I hate myself. No, don't hate yourself. Fix it, baby. Fix it. Now we're gonna get into shadow work because that's something we have to do after we process noticing that we have a shadow side and it's something wrong with us in that shadow side that needs to be fixed, because that's the negative part. You know how you got that good angel on this side and then you got the demon on this side? That's the shadow self. You got your conscious telling you, hey, don't do that. You know that ain't right. Then here come that shadow self. Do it. Hey, do it. You know, and then here come, don't listen to her, girl. Don't do it, because if you do that, girl, this gonna happen. So what? You rang you or they rang you? You know, and that's just how I remember watching Looney Tunes growing up. They always had the shadow self on there. They had the good and you on your shoulders. You're like, I don't know what to do. You know, so that's exactly what this is, you guys. So other aspects that causes great depression of shadow self, i.e. religious teachings. It's okay. That's why I say take the barriers off. Don't have religion. As long as you believe in God and love is the universal language and you got harmony and peace and you're not infringing on nobody else's personal life and their property, then go for it. Live life how you want to. You don't have to be, I'm a Christian, I'm a Baptist, I'm this, I'm that. I believe in God and I let people live. I believe in live and let live. You know what I'm saying? That's the motto we need to live by. Live and let live. Because you don't know how the right way somebody's supposed to be living. And religious teachers, they just put all these like stringent on people's lives. Oh, you gotta live like this or you ain't right. God didn't say that. God said don't go out and kill nothing, don't hurt nobody, love everything you see. Boom. Understandably, the light energies are usually represented with noble values such as love, peace, joy, harmony, and compassion. And that's your persona. Many spiritual and religious movements completely ignore or condemn the dark elements. They don't want you to show anger. They don't want you to show fear, vengeance, control, fear, shame, all this stuff. But when the church is telling you to repress these feelings, we tend to throw it to shadow self. And that shit builds up and builds up and builds up. Before you know it, you're exploding like a cannonball. Somebody does one thing to you and they like, dang, they went from 0 to 100 real quick. Why? It's because that's all that emotion, all them things that you held inside and you exploded on somebody that didn't even deserve it, you know? So we have to learn to... So it's jealousy and lust as well, because the darker characteristics are associated with negativity or evil. They're avoided out of fear and buried even deeper within us. But this is a tragic mistake with dire consequences. The more our darkness is avoided, the more it grows within us. So you got to confront your dark side. You have a thought about killing. Oh, why did I think they were going to get on and do Hail Marys? Shit. Don't think about stealing, killing, none of those, or none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Waiting like a volcano to gush out at any unexpected moment. 0 to 100 real quick. That's what I'm saying. Face everything you face with honesty and courage. honesty, and courage. God said, fear nobody but him. What's the worst that could happen? Somebody tell you no. And that's it. Be okay with, I'm okay with no. Go on by your way, you know. You can't get mad with, no, I'm going to get you. You crazy. Better pray. So turning toward your shadow self helps to embrace these disconnected parts of yourself, creating more psychological and spiritual balance, wholeness. We need wholeness, y'all. So denying your dark side only creates chaos and disharmony. We need integration, which comes from the Latin word integratus, meaning to make whole. To integrate an inner quality is to take ownership and responsibility for it, rather than rejecting it or denying it. My i.e., let me give y'all an example of what happened. It was like not recently, but it happened. Okay, my son, he on a diet or whatever, right? He knows I don't like him eating snacks or whatever. So we was in the kitchen talking and everything. My daughter, she goes and then she comes back, Mama, such and such in the bathroom sneaking a snack. I'm like, no, he ain't. And then she said he heard and gulped it down. So when I went to confront him, he was like, no, I didn't. And she was like, yes, you did. I saw you, you know. And that's him repressing something to his shadow self that he don't need on his back. He needs to just come out with honesty and courage. Yes, Mama, I did it. I just wanted a snack and I won't do it again. But see, little things like that builds up into our shadow selves and it become bigger and bigger than what we want. When it's nothing big, okay, eat it, okay. You know, but still be mindful that you're on a mission for good health and good security from God and safety, right? But I just thought that was funny of him to do that. But little things like that. See, kids, that's the problem we'll have with kids working on their shadow self. It'll be little minute things like that. But still, we need them to confront it with honesty and courage. That way they won't have something riding on their back and become even bigger liars or whatever into society. Because it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. And so this is what we need to look out for in our persons. Trying to be the better you every day, baby steps. We are all a product of our environment. But we face our fears versus hiding or suppressing them to the unconscious. We all have a displeasing characteristic, and we have to confront self to get to our shadow. Every bad aspect of you comes from your shadow self, the unconscious void, self-awareness of our actions and thoughts. There are several different ways to get to know and explore your shadow. If you wish to become a more whole and integrated human being, face your shadow and do some shadow work. What is shadow work, you say? Shadow work is the process of exploring your inner darkness or shadow self. Shadow work uncovers every part of you that has been disowned, repressed, and rejected. It is one of the most authentic paths to enlightenment. There are several different ways to get to know and explore your shadow. If you wish to become a more whole and integrated human being, draw or paint. Art is the highest form of expression. In psychology, an effective way to better understand a client was through art. They would give you, different colors. You choose whatever color. That's the way they was able to tell what kind of emotion you were going through by the color that you picked, and then let you draw whatever. And what you drew determined also how you felt and how your mind, worked or whatever. So the second way to do shadow work is by writing. Writing a story where you project your shadow elements into the characters is a great way to learn more about your inner darkness. Journaling or keeping a diary, like say if somebody upsets you, instead of holding that in and want to be a vengeful person, write down what made you mad and write down, how you felt. And that really helps. It's like that's your outlet. You let it out, you know what I'm saying? Versus holding it in and want to be a vengeful person. That's not good at all, you guys. So the shadow describes the part of the psyche that an individual would rather not acknowledge. John Elder said that. Use the world as a mirror, projection, a template. You know what I'm saying? Projection is at the very heart and soul of the shadow. It's how the shadow hides and protects itself. It's quite simple. We project the qualities of ourselves that we dislike onto others. And people do that we don't have to deal with them in ourselves. So like say you go around somebody, they're like, girl, you always do this. You always. And you looking like, I ain't seen you in a year. How you gonna say I always do that? No, I don't. But that's them projecting something that they don't like about themselves onto you because they feel like you feel the same way about yourself, right? So projection, that's an outlet, but it's not good to project your ways of life onto others. We have to be more aware and conscious of our things that we do and make sure we're doing everything with compassion and harmony. Yeah, fear and anger, those are emotions that we can't get rid of. But that's why we have to keep our chakras in line and in balance, because once your chakras are in line, you won't have to worry about getting disharmony. You won't be mad. You won't get angry. You won't have fear. because you're doing exactly what God wants you to, you know. So it's quite simple. We project qualities of ourselves that we dislike onto others so that we don't have to deal with them within ourselves. Projection also helps us to avoid taking responsibility for ourselves, and instead helps us to make others the culprits and scapegoats for our unresolved issues. So it gives us mindfulness and it observe what you like or dislike in other people. That's what projection does. Projection for many of us is always easier than assimilation. But we need to start doing that too. Reflection is always good. Use the world as your mirror. And using the world as your mirror is good too, because when you walk outside, the way you are in your home, like even keep a journal with you, the way you are in your home, notice self, how it changes, or the way you would respond to a question when somebody else asks you and another person asks you, you know. So we have to be mindful of all this. And shadow work is real, you guys. We need to do that because we all have a shadow self that we just don't like something about ourselves. Confront it with honesty and courage, and you shouldn't go wrong. You guys have a blessed day, and I'm going to come back with another video that's hopefully going to be informative, probably about different types of yoga, because we need to learn different forms of meditation, because everything that we're talking about, it all goes back to the conscious void of trying to get that oneness back with the Creator. Because if we have all these things going on inside of self, and self is the person we need to confront. That's why I started my first video with self-love. Because once you love yourself, it's nothing that nobody can say or do that can change the person that you are, or change how you feel, or the outcome that you see on life. You know, and we need to start with the youth. The children are the future. We can't forget that. I can't stress that enough. Children are the future. It start love, nurture them. And if they do something that's displeasing, don't get mad at you, man. Why you do that? I'll whoop your ass. No. Why did you do that? I love you. You don't have to do stuff like that. Reassure that kid that you love them. And yeah, we're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But be the better you can be every day. And that's it. Y'all have a blessed day.